Welcome to REM Award, the podcast that explores the secrets of sleep and psychology. I'm your host, Ryan, and in each episode, we'll dive deep into the world of sleep and other topics such as mental well-being and personal growth. If you want to unlock your full potential and receive the rewards that come with understanding the power of sleep, you're in the right place. To discover more tips and insights on improving your sleep and overall well-being, visit our website and explore our other episodes at remaward.org. Today on Remember Ward, I'm joined by Tania Palacios, an integrative mental health counselor, yoga therapist, life MAP coach, Army veteran, and founder of TLP Wellness. Tania takes a holistic approach to well-being, helping people strengthen the connection between mind and body through mindfulness, movement, breathwork, and practical wellness strategies. In this episode, we explore why so many teens feel exhausted yet struggle to fall asleep, how stress impacts the nervous system, and how mindfulness practices like yoga, meditation, and breathing exercises can support better sleep and emotional well-being. We also discuss simple techniques anyone can start using today to feel calmer, more present, and better prepared for restorative rest. Perfect. Okay, so before we start, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into yoga, meditation, and holistic wellness?
Yes, my name is Tania Palacios, and I come from a background in behavioral health. I have worked in behavioral health for a little over 18 years. Also have some experience in the military. I am a veteran. And I actually recently began studying yoga therapy about 8 years ago. And so between all of this, it has taught me a lot about just transitions, resilience, and how stress kind of accumulates in your body over time. And I really, once I started doing the yoga therapy, the meditation, mindfulness, this is where it started to ingrain into my daily life activities. And I decided I want to share it with the world.
That's an amazing story, and I love to hear that. Yeah. And how do you personally define the mind-body connection? How does that impact sleep?
Well, I feel like the mind body connection is basically a conversation between our thoughts, our emotions, and our nervous system, right? When we're stressed, when we're anxious, when we're overstimulated, our body stays in this state of alert, even if our brain is telling us it's bedtime, right? In
Mhm.
relation to sleep. So, the way it can affect every part of your life is really academically, attention, and memory, whether you're young or old. Also, a little bit more about like irritability, socially, conflict, a lot of different aspects here. So I see this as a place where you can begin to understand yourself. The mind body connection for me is really about the self study. I think
Mhm.
nowadays we really sometimes tend to focus on, the diagnosis or naming it or having like a straightforward path. And it's really about becoming more in tune with who am I? What do I like? What brings me joy? What makes me sad? So it's for me, it's really the self study.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I completely agree. Everyone's so different from one another. It's so hard to generalize. So it's really important to find the individual in oneself. Um,
Hmm.
and from what you've seen, what's the biggest reasons teens struggle with sleep today?
Oh, well, that is a loaded question because, the initial answer is always, I feel like, technically technology, right?
Right.
And just social media. But a lot of times, I think we really have to look at the stimulation, overstimulation, not only with screens, but homework, social media. Teens' brains are processing constantly, right? Even as adults, it's hard for us to understand how we relate. I see myself as I grew up and look at my kids and really have to adapt and understand like what is their emotional load, right? What are the family dynamics? How are they beginning to learn about themselves and identify themselves? And then also just academics and extracurricular
Hmm.
pressure. I see it all the times in the clients that I work with. There is this constant need for do, go, 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 and without really being able to take a pause.
Right.
And it leaves the body really wired at night.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And with the, I guess, body being so wired and I guess so like active, how does yoga or meditation help calm the nervous system and prepare the body for sleep?
Hmm. So I think one of the things, the moment I realized that I wanted to do this work was became when I became a parent and I began raising preteens, right?
Mhm.
And so I became exposed to this in regards to mindfulness. I actually hired a mindfulness coach for my son when he was really young. And so this was like it just opened up a total like world of possibilities. Like, wow, breath work. It didn't even have anything to do with yoga. It was just the simple aspect of being present, learning about yourself and different types of breath and how it works and how it helps you to regulate. And so even for support in school. And I see this as, I tell people you don't have to have a whole hour a day to do this. It's literally the little things that you do in life. When you wake up in the morning, taking a break during the day, the little micro steps, the little micro movements that you implement throughout the day to help you uh, regulate, reintegrate,
Mhm.
right? Because we all have our ups and downs, our great days, our not so great days, but it's learning how to kind of go with the flow of what that means to you and how you respond to it.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up the micro things. It's the small things that really make a difference. So for someone who's never really tried yoga or meditated before, what's the easiest or least intimidating way to start?
Uh, so for me, I really, really focus on breath,
Hmm.
right? And it's not about me telling you you should do this breath or you should do that breath. It's really about learning, like at the self-study, learning which breath helps you to ground, which breath helps you to slow down, like take a longer exhale, teaching people the correct way to breathe in order to really reap the benefits of your body with that breath, right? The oxygen moving through your body. Also, body scans. Body scans are great for tension and release. I do a lot of this work with younger kids and teens where we just practice moving through the whole body and like squeezing and releasing, squeezing and releasing. And it's amazing how just that small aspect of paying attention or doing something for yourself can really just
Hmm.
reset the nervous system, the mind, and allow you to help keep going through the day or through the night,
Yeah.
being able to rest. So I really have to it is not a one size fits all, right? So I might
Mhm.
work with some people where we do tension and release and it energizes them. And then I might work with someone else where they're like, "Wow, I'm so calm, I'm ready to go to sleep." It's really customizing the approach to the individual.
Yeah, and I really think that goes back to the mind-body connection we were talking about. I guess having individualistic of what works best for you. Um,
Mhm.
and if a teen did say to you, I tried meditating and I really hated it, what would you say to them?
So it's really about redirecting. Um, it's sometimes even not even using the word meditation, right? Redirecting, like I said, we start with micro steps, little short little breaths, maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds at a time, making it small and realistic and not to sometimes teens tend to overthink
Mhm.
mindfulness, right? Like they expect it to be perfect or serious, especially if they're have a little bit more of like a competitive nature or striving for, no matter what their personality is, they can look at it as a, not this again, or oh my gosh, I need to know how to do this perfectly or else it won't work, right? So feeling the sensations in their body, what it feels like when they're in that moment, and learning how to close the tabs, right? One of my favorite exercises are just being able to close your eyes and envision all the little thought clouds above your head and letting them all sit there and kind of reaching your hand up and grabbing one and bringing it to you and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on.
Hmm.
And that works really well at night too, as you're trying to fall asleep and your mind is going and it's ruminating and all the thoughts of the day, being able to say, okay, I see it all there. What am I going to focus on for this evening? What's one thought that I'm going to take and end the evening with? Um, but yes, that's those tiny little micro movements, those micro moments, as we said.
That's amazing. Yeah, I really like that. And that's a cool, really cool like thought I've never done before, and I really want to try that out someday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess can
Yeah.
you talk a bit about your multimodal approach and how the workshops you give?
Yes, absolutely. And so, because of my background in behavioral health, I don't typically do just traditional talk therapy.
Hmm.
So because of my background in also yoga therapy, I've learned over the years, how do I integrate that, right? People get scared of it, or they don't know what it means, or they think yoga, religion, I have to be quiet, I have to be still. So with the clients that I work with, rather whether they're young or they're old. So with the younger population, I might do a little bit of like chair stretching in with along with the breath. I also really focus on creativity,
Hmm.
tapping into how do I get these thoughts on paper artistically, creatively, using color, using imagination, teaching them not only to, okay, I might ask you to close your eyes and visualize, but if you're having a hard time doing that, put it on paper. Let's draw it. And then maybe once you see it, you see it physically, and then maybe you can visualize it, easier, and learning how those sensations in your body tie into the things that come up in your mind. And so when I talk about multimodal, it is how do I integrate both of those and teach people really how to listen to the wisdom of your mind
Hmm.
and listen to the wisdom of your body, because meet yourself where you are, right? Most of the time we know what we need and what works for us. It's being afraid to be consistent or implement or even just start sometimes,
Right. And I'm
right?
just curious, do you see that certain approaches work better for, is like, I guess age one of the biggest factors of what factors into different methods working best, or is it things like busier lifestyles or certain personality traits of what approaches work best for certain individuals?
I find that with the younger generation, being able to put something physical with something mental,
Okay.
right? Like using your body to understand how your mind works. And that's where the creativity comes in. I don't think that there is one session in which I work with like a preteen or a teenager, the younger population, where I don't do something creative,
Hmm.
whether it's on paper or it's on movement. Even if it's just shaking your body or doing some straw breathing, I always integrate something. And then as we get older, I also feel like we tend to forget to pause for ourselves, right? We're doing for everyone else and we're not taking a moment for ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, and then I feel like everything that I do, I like to focus on chair yoga as a beginning aspect because it's so adaptive, it's so accessible. There is not one person that can't do it because I tailor it to what your limitations are, what your
Right.
expectations are, right? And so there's so many different options. It's more about what helps you to feel calm and what is realistic. Like, what's a routine that you can actually stick with that feels safe and not controlling? That you're not
Wow.
saying, okay, I have this schedule every single day. I have to wake up and I have to do this. Like, it's okay if you don't wake up and do that. You have the entire day ahead of you, right? And once you find that stability, you understand that how it comes naturally, how it ends
Yeah.
up surfacing in a more organic way.
Yeah, I think that's a great a great point of not making it seem like a task. And that's why like so many times people can't, I guess, stick to that routine is when it feels like something to check off their checklist. And that really falls to my next question of what would a realistic, I guess, nighttime routine look like for a busy teen who has homework, activities, and stress to deal with?
Yes, I love that. So I would say to look at what their environment is to begin with, right? Creating a sleep friendly environment. So even just taking a pause to look in their room, right? Are there clothes all over the floor? And if they are, that's okay. But understanding, does your teen prefer to have an environment that's more tidy, or like do
Hmm.
they function better when there's a little bit of not chaos, but like a little bit of disruption, or not everything doesn't have to be perfect. So not only that, but like the dimming of the lights, are the lights dim? Devices, we've heard for years and years and years, turning off your devices like a couple of hours before you go to sleep, but that's not the only thing. that there's so many other different factors. Another thing too is maybe encouraging a short wind down routine together. So understanding what is it that helps you to wind down, even if it's just a check-in, a conversation where you go and sit at the edge of their bed or you meet at the living room table, wherever you are, you go for a walk and you say, okay, tell me about your day. Like let it all out. Support them using their practices to be able to pause without feeling like you have to respond, um, but also without feeling like they have to participate. If
Hmm.
you're having conversations and it's just the day has just been really tough, and they're saying, "I just don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know how to respond." That's okay as well,
Yeah.
because that is giving them the agency and the autonomy to understand and respect themselves and not feel pushed, right? Um, let's think. One thing that I love that I don't know, I'm trying to integrate this more into sessions with the clients, but one thing that I actually really love and I do with my kids is a waterless diffuser, right? So
Mm.
finding a scent that really brings joy to you, whether it's lavender or for me, it's peppermint. I love to smell peppermint going to sleep. It helps with my sinuses and it's
Mm.
calming, right? So I like waterless diffusers because as a teenager, as a young, as a young, or as anybody really, you don't have to think about um, cleaning it, refilling it, whether
Right.
there's mold building, right? You just kind of put the essential oil in it. And if you're scent oriented, if you have a teen who is scent oriented that really responds well to that, that's another great little technique
Hmm.
as well to help to kind of integrate that environment.
Yeah.
If they say, I want to paint my room or I want to decorate a certain way, there might be limits sometimes, but it's more about helping them feel empowered to make the decisions rather than controlling whether or not their own decisions are right or wrong.
Right. Yeah, that's an amazing point. And I think I might have to invest in a waterless diffuser soon. It sounds like a great idea.
I love them. I feel like, those little things in life that just bring you happiness and joy. And,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I have everybody's different, right? I have one child that walks into the room and is like, I love the smell in here. And the other one's like, oh gosh, you have your diffuser on. I can't be in here. Can we go watch a movie downstairs? So it's so personality related.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess for my last question, I was just curious, could you possibly run us through a maybe 3 to 5 minute meditation or however long that our listeners could use to relax if possible?
I can absolutely. And before I start that, I want to I'll give a little bit of maybe background about
Hmm.
the meditation or the practice.
That'd be amazing.
Really like the strategies of looking at what's body centered and what's practical, right? Grounding breaths, slow inhale, maybe longer exhales. In regards to, I won't do a lot of movement here today, but in regards to movement, like we were talking about before, or yoga, integrating that. Yoga is also just releasing your shoulders, right?
Hmm.
Circular motions, neck tension, back tension. It's any tiny small movements with the body. So as I do the meditation, I like to always say, I'm here as a guide. Everything that I do is invitational. If your body feels the need to move, move it. If you feel the need to stretch it. If you want to close those tabs of the day, allowing the nervous system to rest. So this is something that I always begin my classes with or my practices with, because sometimes people feel like I have to look at the screen, I have to follow along exactly, like paying attention to the words. Am I doing it right? They're more overwhelmed about the way that they're showing up, as opposed to just kind of closing the eyes and listening.
Right.
And you can be standing up and moving, you can be sitting down, you can be on the floor with a pillow, whatever works for you. So, on that note, we can do a practice. And I like to call this more of a reset before sleep, since we're talking
Hmm.
about sleep and thinking about, nervous system and reset. So, As I mentioned, you can do this laying down or sitting, whatever feels comfortable for you, no right or wrong. And so as we begin, you can take a moment here to close your eyes. And if you're ready, if you're not ready to close your eyes yet, maybe even shift your gaze down the bridge of your nose and beginning to settle into that natural rhythmic flow of your breath. There's no right or wrong here. So maybe taking a slow breath in through the nose and a longer breath out through the mouth. Your next inhale, maybe squeezing the shoulders up to the ears. And then as you exhale, letting the shoulders drop down a little bit. Not fixing, just noticing. And maybe bringing one hand to your chest and one hand to your stomach. Feeling the breath move under your hands. Tuning into what your flow is, what your breath is telling you about your body, what your body is telling you about your breath. And imagine the day like a phone with too many tabs open. So if you'd like, you can visualize this, create a picture behind your eyes, that mind screen. Imagine that day, your day, like a phone. And then one by one, you're not deleting them. You're just closing them for the day, for the night. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Also recognize if you want to drop your hands. Notice where you settle into this comfort within your space, this coziness. Coming back to the feeling of your body being supported. Remember, we're not here to delete the tabs, we're just here to close them. And as you pause here in your breath, in this rest, maybe notice 3 things your body is touching right now. Perhaps it's the chair. If you're laying in bed, maybe it's the floor. And as we continue with your breath, just slow your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. And if you need some guidance, you can take a breath in for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll do this 2 more times. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Next time we're going to exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time as we inhale, coming to the top of our breath, taking a little extra sip of breath, maybe lengthening the spine, dropping the shoulders. This time we're going to exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing here, maybe even silently saying to yourself, I did enough today. And then before we end the practice, as you pause in this rest, taking a moment here to visualize all of your tasks for the day. You can imagine them, as we mentioned before, little clouds in the sky. You can visualize a little checklist, a to-do list, whatever your version is for today. And then when you're ready, you can either take your hand and grab one of those thoughts and bringing it down to your center, your core, your powerhouse, or checking one of those things off of your list and then bringing that again to your core, to your powerhouse, taking a big breath in, allowing your belly to expand. And then exhale, releasing it, allowing yourself to just focus on this one moment. And this doesn't have to be the thing that you do for the rest of the day. It can just be your next step, your next breath. Taking one more slow breath in and then letting it out gently. And when you're ready, you can either allow your eyes to stay closed and remain in this space or stay soft. Rest or sleep can come when it's ready. If you're listening to us online here, you can begin to maybe move your fingers, your toes, find some movement in your body. Maybe begin to come back to this present moment as you open your eyes, taking the next few moments to maybe find a nice big stretch, reaching up to the sky. Whatever you need to reintegrate back into this present moment, into this space, with maybe a little bit more focus, a little bit more connection to yourself, a little bit more confidence.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. You're
Um,
welcome. I'm glad I was able to share it.
yeah, well, those are all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much for coming on again. I'm sure our listeners are just as grateful as I am to have you here. I'll make sure to link everything down below about you. And thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for tuning into the Reward Podcast. Before you go, we'd appreciate your support by subscribing, liking, and leaving your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for our next podcast, where we will be joined by a special guest speaker to explore even more about the fascinating world of sleep and psychology.